think I'm going to pull up my screen then and we will get started. And we are now recording. Thank you, Corey. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the PSCP this month. Woo, what are we, August? Can you believe that in 2 days it's going to be September? That is insane to me. I can't believe we're almost to fall time, which after all these 100-degree days that we've had in Pueblo, Colorado, I am ready for fall. I'm done with it. So anyways, good morning. If you guys are just signing on, you missed a bunch of funny dad jokes that we were doing earlier. There's still some in the chat pane if you can see those. I don't know if you can. There's a couple of them. They're really good. So, all right. So throughout the next hour, if you experience any technology issues or things of that nature where you can't get something to work right, please reach out to Corey. You can drop it in chat or you can email him. He'll be here to help you with any problems that you have. Remember to unmute if you want to ask a question or if you want to make a comment. We want to hear voices. It's perfectly great. This is community and your voices are very important to us. We changed to Google this month. We used to do Zoom, but now we're using Google. So I hope everybody got in okay and everything's working. To mute and unmute, it's on the very bottom left-hand side right there of your toolbar. And then to chat, it's over on the right-hand side. So I hope everybody's pretty familiar with Google. If not, reach out to Corey and he can help you. So August 30th, the August What webinar, so exciting. So again, PSCP, we're committed to bring you quality and valuable information, chances to collaborate, opportunities for you. Today is an awesome presentation. I haven't seen it personally, but I've heard numerous people say how great today's presentation is going to be. So we're very excited to present that to you today, and we're here for you. Anything with change. Our overall direction and everything is that we're an agnostic group. We don't go just to one methodology or anything like that. We want to hear about all different kinds. We learn from each other. We build upon our knowledge with each other. We inspire each other and lead change throughout the world. And overall, our umbrella is to ensure that those impacted by change are successful with that change. So that is our vision and our direction of the PSCP. So our agenda for today, we've already did our jokes. So that was fun. I'm going to talk about the PSCP board next. We've got a few announcements, and then we're going to dive right into Heather's presentation for today. So very much looking forward to that. So this is the PSCP board. We have myself, Elizabeth's not here today. She's not feeling well, unfortunately. Corey's here. He's waving maybe. Yep, there you go. Doug is here. Doug's going to wave. Patricia, are you here? Yes, she's here. Hello, Patricia. And Jamie is our newest member. So a big welcome to Jamie. Jamie Joy just joined the PSCP. She's our production lead. And so she's been working with Heather this month. And we're so excited to have her on board. We hope she brings a lot of joy. I'm sure she's never heard that joke before. So welcome, Jamie. We are so happy to have you. All right, so I wanted to get some awareness out there way ahead of time for our webinar in October. It's going to be on October 25th at 10 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. But to attend that webinar, you'll need to register for the Washington State Government Lean Transformation Conference. The registration's not out yet. You can definitely look it up on Google, Washington State Government Lean Transformation Conference, but I don't think they've opened up for registration yet. We will be sending out notifications via LinkedIn and in the newsletter when that opens. But we decided to partner with, I always just kind of shorten it to Results Washington, but we're partnering with them. We're going to be doing the PSCP webinar during their conference. And Scott Stiller will be our presenter for that month. So we've already got our presenter lined out. We're ready to go. It's going to be an awesome one. And if you don't know, and if you've never attended the Washington State Government Lean Transformation Conference, it is free and it is an excellent conference. I've attended multiple years in a row. Thanks, Doug. And it is just an absolute awesome conference. You can pick and choose. I think it goes on for a couple of weeks, like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for 2 weeks in a row. And so you can go in and register for the different sessions that you want to attend, and it's all free. So please check that out. Results Washington is, I really like to emulate them a lot, and we meet with them a lot on a lot of different things, but they are fabulous. So great conference. All right, if you need PDUs, make sure to fill out the survey at the end of today's session, because that's how you can get them. I don't know how many people like do a clappy or a thumbs up or something if you need PDUs for your certifications. Oh, we've got quite a few. Okay. All right, wonderful. We'll make sure to fill out that survey. I was just curious how many people need them. Great. A quick note to get involved with PSCP. We welcome any help, any input, anything. So reach out to us if you have ideas on like different webinars for the future, case studies, panels, workshops. We still haven't done a workshop. It's the elusive workshop thing that we want to do. We would like to take an hour one of these days and actually do an actual workshop. So if you have ideas for that, please email us, let us know. We definitely want to hear from you. And if you want to run one someday, let us know that too. You know, we want to get you guys all involved as much as you want to be. So, you know, the more we engage, collaborate, and encourage each other, this is really our bottom line. We've got to connect. We've got to help each other. We've got to support each other. You know, success breeds success, and we all need to work together to make sure that we're all successful and that we're helping everybody adjust and adopt to change. So this community has been a really awesome community, and I'm happy you guys are all here. So again, your voice is very important to the success and value of our community. Present, share, ask questions, and don't forget to complete the survey at the end. So that's the spiel of the introduction. And so I will stop sharing. I'm going to first, though, welcome Heather. Heather, thank you so much for being here today. She is from the government of New Brunswick. I have I had it been about 10 years ago that I did a collaboration with New Brunswick, and we sat down and I think it was like a whole day, and we learned so much from the government of New Brunswick. And they're fabulous. Like the things that New Brunswick does is just amazing. In fact, if I went and dug in my files, I'm sure I could find it all still. Like I kept everything from that day. So that was a really exciting day for me. So, but Heather's here to present on enhancing change management in project and advisory service, Lean Six Sigma training. I'm so happy. I'm going to stop sharing if I can find my mouse. There we go. And I'm going to allow Heather to share her screen. Everybody cross your fingers that it works, because Google has been strange lately. But I'm very hopeful it will.
And we have a storm brewing.
Oh, no, you do?
Yes. Yes, it's raining and high winds and stuff today. So we were just keeping it. Yes, that all's going to be well.
All right, yes. I'm crossing fingers.
Yes, internet connections are going to work and the lights are going to stay on.
That would be good. And if not, we get it. We understand.
Yes. No. Well, thank you very much for having me today. No pressure, you know, in hearing that it was good before. And so I've enhanced it a little bit so that I'm, you know, wasn't saying necessarily the same thing all over again. First, just a quick check. Can you see my screen? It's
You're good.
Okay. Perfect. If it looks like I'm looking off to my left a little bit, it's because I have a split screen. So you folks are all here on the right hand side of me, and my screen is on my left. So let's get started. So I'm going to talk about enhancing change management in project and advisory services, Lean Six Sigma training. So what does all of that mean? But before we get there, I just thought there might be some of you who don't know where I'm coming from. So you folks, I'm assuming most of you are from here. You're in Colorado, and I am all the way over here in Fredericton, New Brunswick. So if you know where Maine is, take a sharp right. We're right next door to them. So that's where we are. And Franklin, the hurricane, which I may have been downgraded to a tropical storm, he's off a little bit further to the right of Halifax and Nova Scotia and St. John's and Newfoundland right at the moment. So we're getting the rains and the winds from him. So that is where I am. This is where I'm coming from you today. So it's morning for you folks. It's afternoon for me. My name is Heather Urquhart. I have been trained as a Lean Six Sigma green belt and a black belt. I just recently transitioned to a change management advisor position, but I do have ProSci certified change practitioner certification. And I work for what is considered project and advisory services within Finance and Treasury Board, which is a department within the government of New Brunswick. So what project and advisory services is, we are essentially a PMO, a project management office, but we don't just have project managers. We have Lean Six Sigma, we call them PIFs, project or process improvement facilitators. So we have black belts that are on our team. We have, well, right now I'm the only change person on our team, but hopefully that'll grow. We have project managers, we have innovation and design folks. We also have a group of folks called alternative service delivery. So they look at some of the bigger projects and such that come into the department or into our group. So just to give you a little bit of background, so I did way back in 2014, I started my Lean Six Sigma Green Belt training. And I don't know about you folks, but I was one of these kids, I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. But when I found out about this Lean Six stuff, I'm like, this is it. I have found my calling. Finally, I know what I want to do when I grow up, if I ever grow up. So I went from green belt to black belt, but in doing my projects and my certification projects and such, I soon realized that people weren't necessarily as excited about the projects as I was. If data said this is where we need to go and this is what we need to do, I'm like on board. Okay, this is what we need to do. But not everybody has that same outlook and feeling towards change. So I'm like, there's got to be something here. And I didn't know back then that there was actually a methodology to helping people through transitions and through changes. So I eventually learned, I became ProSci certified, and then when I first joined project and advisory services, I did come in as a black belt, but as I say, recently I've transitioned over into the project or the change management advisor position. So I am doing more change now and helping all of my co-workers and all of their methodologies, helping them with their project teams and their transitions. So that is where I am today. Our philosophy is that if you lead projects, you lead change, whether you want to or not. You lead change. And this is one of our favorite books because, and it's written by Jennifer Campbell. She's another fellow Canadian. But we like this book because it talks about how to talk about change, how to get conversations started. So it was one of her quotes where she said, if you lead projects, you lead change. And so we talk about that a lot, and then also recommend, if you're having issues with getting those conversations started, that might be a great book for her to check out of hers. I am not going to share anything new with you. I am sure here in this that, as you are well aware, that change management is an evolving discipline. There's lots of thought leaders, methodologies that are, or theorists that are improving upon the methodology as we go through. But the one thing that we have found is that there's three themes. There's a people-focused theme, there's a leader-focused theme, and there is a sustainability theme. And again, you're probably saying, Heather, this is nothing new, but bear with me. I'm going to get my point. People-focused themes. I don't know if anybody has noticed, but human beings, we tend to be messy. We have thoughts and feelings and opinions that we want to share with each other, and it doesn't always come nicely wrapped up into a nice little package. So we can be very emotional when it comes to change because we're thinking loss. When we think change, the first thing we're thinking about is what we're losing, not necessarily about what we're gaining, but what we're losing. And with that loss comes confusion, and I don't know what my role is going to be, and I don't know, and so then we get a little emotional, a little anxious about things. So We're very emotional. We want to also know the why. Why are we doing this? Why do we need to do it now? Why do I care that we're doing this? Like, why? So, always talking about the why. We also need to know that whatever is going to happen in the future, however you want me to behave, that I'm going to be able to do it, that it's going to be achievable, and that I'm going to have support in doing that. So someone's going to be around to help me when I'm having some issues with the new way of doing things. Is that there? Is that going to be in place? And then I'm beginning to feel a little bit more comfortable with this change. I also want to know that any of the roadblocks or any of the barriers that are going to happen in this process, they're going to be removed. So again, somebody is there that's going to help remove those. Then, when we looked at the leader side of things, I mean, leaders are really important when it comes to change management because usually they're the ones that are saying, I want this project done, and this is what I want achieved in this project. So they see the benefits. But the leaders are also the ones that have to communicate that as well. So depending on the seniority of your leadership, so senior leaders, why is this project important to the organization? Why are we doing it now? What's going to happen if we don't do it? So we want to hear that message from our senior leaders. But from my supervisor, my direct supervisor, I want to know how this change is going to impact my daily work and my daily life. What does it really mean to me? I get that, in my case, my deputy minister or my minister is saying, this is why it's important to the Department of Finance. And um, but they don't really know how it's going to affect my everyday life. So that I want to hear from my from my supervisor. So we've got to make sure that we've got the right people giving the right message at the right time. And then there's the whole sustainability thing, right? Because, like if we're going to go through all of this trouble, really do we want people slipping back to the old way of doing things? Because, it's a whole lot easier, no matter how much I complained about that process before and it not working. Now that it's changed, it's still easier than trying to figure out how to make this new process work. And, or I'll start that tomorrow because, Monday, well, it's Monday, and Monday's hard enough without having to start a whole new process. So maybe we'll start it on Tuesday. We need to know that the new way of doing things becomes the way we do things. It just becomes regular work. So we need to make sure that there are systems and supports put in place that we get rewarded for doing the new way of doing things, that we have that support, that it's okay if our productivity decreases a bit for that first little bit. Like, okay, I'm not going to get as many applications processed that I used to before in the old system that didn't work. But is it okay that I don't get as many done? Is it okay if I'm, like falling behind a little bit, but that I will eventually catch up once I get used to this new way of doing things? So we need to know or have that sustainability in place as well so that it does become regular work and we realize the benefits of the project in the first place. Otherwise, we've wasted all this time and effort. So what we did, taking all of that information and all the different theorists and all the different theories and said, okay, what is going to work for us here at GMB, at Government of New Brunswick? What's going to work for us? And not to say that ProSci or Cotter or the Association of Change Management Professionals, that their methodology wouldn't necessarily work for us, but just like yourselves, you have your own culture, you have your own way of doing things, so it's like, why don't we put together something that we know is going to work for us based on the theorists that I just spoke about and the different themes. So this is what we did. I am not going to go through all of this with you, but it's a high overview. This is what we call our change management journey. This is our framework for change management within GMB. And so essentially we have 4 phases. we're understanding the change, preparing for the change, we're managing the change, and we're sustaining the change. We've got different activities, different deliverables. We have a page 2 to this that provides even more information as to what exactly gets done, but it's something for folks to follow to say, look, okay, we can make change work if we follow this. It gives me some tools and some guidance. They can always call us for help. Also, we offer a class on this so that we can teach people how to use it and how to work through and the tools and everything as well. So that's what we did. We said, okay, here at GMB, this is going to be our methodology, and this is what we are going to practice and implement into projects. So as we all know, essentially, change management is a structured approach transitioning an organization from current state to future state to achieve expected benefits. Okay, so we're saying if we're a structured approach, project management, Lean Six, human-centered design, they're all structured approaches as well. So what does this look like? So the first thing we did was we overlapped change management with Lean Six Sigma. And the director who looks after the Lean Six Sigma program is very open to this and has been incorporating bits and pieces of change management into Lean Six, or I shouldn't say incorporated, because Lean Six already has change management built into it, but we're enhancing it along the way. So when we looked at our framework and the Lean Six Sigma framework, and it's like, okay, this is how it overlaps. This is how we can get the two to be working together. Sidebar, as I alluded to earlier, Lean Six and change management aren't the only ones that have some factors in common. We've got project management and innovation and design. So we've started going in and talking about change management more with our Lean Six Sigma students. We're going to do that as well with our project management students in the fall, and innovation and design probably next year sometime. We'll talk more about change management with those in those classes as well. So we're enhancing change management where we can. And I just want to point out, we are not looking to make any of our Lean Six or project management or innovation and design students change managers. That's not what we're here to do. They're working through their methodology. This is a few things or a few tools or some things that's going to help them realize the benefits of their project and help their project teams and their stakeholders through that transition. That's what we're trying to do. So they're not going to be full-fledged change managers, but they are going to have some extra tools in their toolkits to help with the success of the projects and of the people. So give you an idea of how we run or how our Lean Six Sigma training is laid out. So for our green belts and our black belts, they get a one-day introduction to Lean Six. So that we've got a new class that's just starting. It happened the other day. So they get a whole class of essentially, this is what you're in for, in case you didn't know. This is what Lean Six Sigma is, and this is how we're prepping you for it. Then in a couple of weeks, they have a week of what I am calling their supplemental skills and tools. So things that they really should know that will help with their project as well. So things like charter writing. They have a whole day of charter writing and how to write a good charter. They have a half day of facilitation skills. So how to run your workshops. What are the things you should be looking for? They have a day of project management. Now, not all of project management, but we talk about things like risk, stakeholder analysis, Gantt charts, work breakdown structures, anything that too would help the Lean Six Sigma students help realize the benefits of their project and make it successful. We have a morning of innovation, so human-centered design, and they talk about the different tools and such, again, that Lean Six could use that would help with theirs. And then I come in and talk about change management, and I'll talk more about that in just a minute. But then we also let them know that, so 1 week each month, they do a phase of the DMAIC. So in October, they do a week of define. and they learn everything about define phase. And then in November, they come back and they'll learn about measure and the measure phase and everything that goes on in the measure phase. So we do that because then it gives them enough time in between each phase to be working on their project with their project teams. So as part of our training to be certified, they have to do a project. They have to actually go through and do all the exercises, present a defense, and work with the project team and use all the tools and such. So once a month, they come in, they learn a new phase, and they go back and they work with their project teams. At the end of each week, I come back in for about an hour and talk to them about change management. And these are some of the things that you are doing already. This is what you learned this week. This is how it applies to change management. This is how you can enhance it. This is what else you can do. So during their week of supplemental skills, when I have my half day of change management with them, I kind of do the intro stuff. So we talk about the why and the what of change management, why you want to do change management, what change management is, how it'll help their project, this sort of thing. We also talk about resistance because we want them to know right off the bat that not everybody's going to be happy with their project and the things that they're leading the change on, but there are ways to manage resistance, and better to do some of this stuff right up front than when they get into improve and they're implementing their solutions. That at that point in time, it's not always a great time to be calling in a change manager. So we'd rather get them in the beginning. Let's look at resistance right from the start. We also have some keys to success. So if nothing else, if you can do these 5 things, this will help. And then, as I say, an additional hour of change management training at each phase. So I talk about that during their supplemental week. Then when we get into each of the different phases, this makes us sound so mean, but we basically tell them, this is where your project can fail. Let's be honest, there's a good chance your project will fail, but this is where it could fail. But we also do the opposite, and we tell them this is how to prevent that failure from happening. So we give them those right up front. Look, we know this is where things could go wrong, but we've had the experience, and this is how we can help you. So, and we talk about that on the people side, not necessarily on their lane 6, the business side of things, but on the people side of things. This is where things could go wrong. So in Define, for instance, they talk about their project charter, their project team, the voice of the customer, RACI. RACI is roles and responsibilities. So who's responsible, who's accountable, who needs to be consulted or informed on the different steps or along the way. We talk about data and metrics and measures, but that kickoff meeting, so that initial kickoff meeting with their project team, and again, talk about more about resistance. But they've already learned all of that and what they need to do to apply to their project. I come back in and say, all right, in your project charter, you're talking about your problem statement and goal. You want to make sure, one, that your leaders are all on board and saying the same thing about the project problem statement and the goal. This is why. This is how it's going to help. When you're talking to your project team during that first kickoff meeting, you want to make sure that that's what they understand as well, so that they understand that vision and the goal for this project and why it's important. Talking to the voice of the customer, this is what you need to know. You need to get your customers engaged. What do they feel about this process? How is it working for them or not working for them? So we go through and we talk about different things with the measures and the metrics and stuff, starting to socialize those so that people know that, okay, in the end, once we've implemented our solution, this is how we're going to know if we're being successful or not successful. We want to know that. We want to know that we're going to be successful. And again, as I say, I don't think you can ever talk too much about resistance. So I throw that in there for good measure as well to get them used to it. So then in measures talk about loss. I talk about loss with the students in measure, because this is where in Lean 6, they're looking at the current state and they're looking at the process, what's working, what's not working. And we have to acknowledge that that process worked at one point in time, and that there could be somebody in their project team that developed that process. And they put their heart and soul into making it work. And even though it doesn't work any longer, they've put a lot of effort into getting their work done in that broken process. So even though we complain about it, we still have a big attachment to that process. So we have to acknowledge their loss. We have to acknowledge that this is what they're going to change. So we tell the belts, don't be quick to criticize everything. Keep in mind that the folks that you're working with have done a lot of work in that process trying to make it work. Yes, they might be complaining about it, but that doesn't give you the right to complain about it, because it's not your process, it's theirs. So we talk a lot about loss. And again, revisiting the vision and the goals and the reason for the change. And you may have to actually repeat that quite often. And the last study that I read, 13 times. You have to repeat a message 13 times before somebody internalizes it. And it's like, okay, this is why. So no matter at any point in time throughout your project, you will probably have to go back and revisit why you're doing this in the first place. So just something to keep in mind. Repeat it often. Even in analyze phase and data collection. It's like, I don't know if I like the way that this project's going, so I don't know if I'm going to be too quick to give Heather my data, right? So there might be a little bit of an hesitation there when it comes to providing the data. Help them through that. Help them realize this is what it's going to do. This is what you need it for. Be very specific. And because data collection can be a lot of work, be very specific about what it is that you need. Don't be wasting people's time if you don't need to. So we talk about that and analyze, and then in improve. Again, we do a lot of talking about resistance. Again, because if anywhere a project is going to fail in Lean 6, it's usually in the improve phase, because the project team has been having all kinds of fun with the black belt or the green belt, going through all these exercises. It's been a change from their regular everyday work. And, like now it's like, okay, this is fun. We've come up with potential solutions, but now they have to do the work. And it's on them to do the work. And it's their responsibility. So that's usually when it's like, nope, I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't fun. This isn't fun anymore because now I have to change. So again, talking more about resistance and making sure that, we're addressing resistance right from the get-go. And then, of course, in control, setting up the process owner for success, making sure that they understand that they're the one who owns this, that they're going to support their folks working in the process and keeping up with things. Michelle, how am I doing on time? I'm good? Okay. All right. Tell me when I'm going over. So our keys to success. So there's 5 things that we tell them that, like if you forget to do everything else, just do these 5 things. 1, explain your why. Communicate, because you can't communicate enough. Engage your stakeholders. Address skills and training needs, and support change after the go live. So after the implementation. So kind of what does that mean? So again, going back to the why. Why are we doing this project? Why is this project or this change important? Why are we doing it now? Why is it important to me? Answering those whys 13 times, explaining that 13 times to folks, because, like we do have the attention span of less than a goldfish now. We're down to 1.7 seconds. That cute little goldfish is 3 seconds. We are 1.7. So if you got to get that answer into why right away so that it's sticking, and you're going to tell them 13 times and in different modes and methods. You can't do it all the same way all the time because we're just not going to get it. Did I mention we're a lot of work? God love us. We are a lot of work when it comes to change, but we're also worth it. Communicate. I can't communicate enough. And the best thing to do is to tell your project team the process, the Lean Six Sigma process that you're going to take. Let them know that beforehand. This is what we're going to do. This is what the next few weeks, few months are going to look like for us. Giving regular updates. If your senior leaders aren't coming to you looking for an update, you be going to them and telling them what's going on with this project. Don't you be letting them thinking about it or stop thinking about it. Same with your stakeholders. Keep them informed as well, because there's nothing any worse than hearing about a project in January and not hearing anything else about it until the next Christmas. Like, what happened in between? Is anybody doing anything? We don't know. And then that's when the rumor mills start, and oh, that's just a whole other thing. And you got to repeat that goal and vision. Remember, 13 times. So you're always, this is why it's important. This is why we're doing it. Repeat, repeat, repeat. You're going to do a lot of talking. So we got to talk to a lot of people. Stakeholders. So again, providing them with their updates or updates of the project, what's going on, asking them for their feedback. Ask them if they have any questions, concerns, training needs, like what's going on here, like who needs what, making sure that their concerns are being addressed and met. And even though we're asking for feedback, it doesn't always mean that we can incorporate feedback. So I always tell folks, we're asking you for your feedback. We may not be able to use all of it, but we will consider it. So before you just say, nope, not going to do that, stop and consider it just for a moment, because maybe it is that brilliant light bulb of an idea that no one else has thought of, or the project team hasn't considered, or something. So at least take a moment and consider the feedback before you decide it's not usable. You want to address any skills or training needs. Do not assume that we will just figure it out. God love us. We are public servants. We do this. We figure things out. But we also end up being a little broken and bruised and damaged from it sometimes, and we don't need to be. So if we just had a little better way of doing things and addressing those skills and our training needs, then it's a little easier on us, and we tend to be happier employees. Go figure. And as I don't just assume, look to see, it's like, okay, this is what we have versus what we need. So make that skills assessment and make sure, because everybody could be different. It might be like, oh yeah, Sally uses Excel. That's not a problem. But maybe Sally only knows how to add up columns in Excels. She doesn't know how to do a statistical analysis on something, right? So be careful what you assume when it comes to skills. Ask people. They'll tell you. Supporting the change after go live. So again, hated that old process, but by golly gee, I knew how to work in it, and I can make that work. And this new process, I'm not completely sure of. And if I don't have someone who is my go-to person, who I know I can go and ask questions, that they're going to remove any barriers, that my supervisor's saying, you know something, Heather, it's okay if you're not processing as many applications as you did before. Once you get used to it, you'll be back up and running like you used to. Like, it's all good. Like, but it's going to take some time for everybody to get used to the new way of doing things. And if I need some additional training, then give me that additional training. You know, there's no harm. It could be in-house training. It doesn't mean you always have to bring someone else in. It could be on a small component. It could be because God knows I've thrown a lot of stuff at you that if I asked you to repeat anything, you know, like, would you be able to? Like, or no, should we go through this again? Did you miss a concept, right? Like, so sometimes when we go through training, we don't catch every little thing. So if we need a refresher or an update on something, if something just didn't resonate with me, or I didn't hear it 13 times and it didn't sink in, then let's look at it again. So keep that additional, make sure that additional training is available if needed. The other part, so as I was saying before, that the belts have to do a project, and they have to do a presentation as their defense to receive their certification. Because of me, they have to include some change management tools in here along the way, just so that I know they did some change management things. So what I do is I ask them to do a communication plan. Explain to them, of course, that this is a living document, and this is actually adapted from the Cotter plan. So who you talked to, who delivered the message, why were you talking to them. I want them to think about that communication, why they're communicating to people, what that message is going to be. But I've also included feedback mechanisms, and I want them to think about the feedback. How are they getting that feedback? Are they asking for feedback? Who's going to look after that feedback, right? And so I want them to be doing that as well. So they have to complete a communication plan. I also want them to complete this change impact assessment tool. So again, this is adapted from ProSci. There's a couple of things that I added to it, but under the area column, like these are all the different ways that these are all the different things we think of when we hear there's going to be a change to the way I do things, that this could potentially affect my job. So let's address some of these. Like, let's start answering some of these questions before I am bombarding you with those questions. So what can you tell me when you're telling me about this change of any of those different aspects, the different aspects of my job, what's going to change? Can you answer some of those questions sooner rather than later? So again, this is a living document. Fill in as you go, identify what's going to be needed for each of these, if anything is going to be needed. Has an actual change plan been developed for any of these aspects? So as I say, if I do need more training or something, what is the plan? And who's looking after that plan? Who is responsible to do that? So then that way we know that as well. And we've got that covered. And then finally, we do this change readiness scorecard. So we ask them to do this at the end of each of the DMAIC phases. And what this is, some questions about leadership, project management, and change management. How are we doing? Is there anything that needs a little extra love and attention in any of those categories? Like before we go on to the next phase, is everything good? Is there something that I need to address, or is there we need to fix, or are we okay? But I think there's, it may work itself out. So we get them to do this as well, just to check on the health of their project and as they're working through. So we ask them to do that. And then, of course, at the end, after all their training, and we send them off out into the real world, and they're back at work and they're working with their project teams and they're working on their projects. We can't exactly leave them alone. That's not really fair to them. So we do provide them with some support. So the belts actually get another. So green belts would get a black belt to coach. A black belt would get a master black belt to coach them through a project. But on the change management side, sometimes the belts aren't always comfortable on coaching the change management. So I will offer coaching for them. And we also have a change management community of practice that we meet once a month, and they are invited to attend. They may pick up some additional tips and tricks, or a fellow belt that's having the similar issues to them in their projects, and so there is that support out there for them as well. And then finally, we always leave people with our list of books and resources that we pull from and read. And, if anyone's looking for more information and they don't want to hear me talk anymore, then I'm like, here, choose a book. There's lots of these books, like depending on what you're looking for. So then we always, as I say, we always provide them with some additional reading material should they want. And that is it for me. So if anybody has any questions, I am happy to answer.
Thank you, Heather. That was really wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. We had a couple of questions. One was, will the slides be available? And I said yes, with the video. And Doug says 91 attending today. Great turnout. Yes, it was awesome. Very great turnout.
Wow.
We do have another question in chat. As part of your stakeholder engagement, do you use the Kubler-Ross grief model while you guide stakeholders through change? In my experience, even small changes cause some people to experience the difference in the same way they might experience a personal loss.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So no, we don't necessarily follow any particular model or anything when we are doing our stakeholder engagement, because every project's different. So every engagement could be different. So we don't subscribe to just one way of necessarily doing things. I know when I'm being really vague and I'm not, but it all really does depend on the project. Like sometimes stakeholder engagement could simply be a survey and then follow up with a group meeting or something. This is what we found out. So
It just
so
depends. Yeah.
yeah, it really depends. It depends on the situation and what it calls for.
I think, I think you're right. Like we moved people to a new building, and that I think created grief, right? Like actual grief, like personal loss. And so I think maybe a heavier amount of something there. You know what I mean? Like it depends on the
Ab-
aspect of change.
Absolutely. And if it was, something that heavy, then we could always bring in our HR folks, right? Because there's other resources and such that can certainly help. That's beyond my capabilities,
Yeah. Next question is how successful has your community of practice been in supporting the change after go live and after a change manager has been reassigned?
Well, I'll be honest, we don't actually have a lot of change managers, people in government with that actual title
Right.
yet. So sometimes, and I don't know about any of you folks, but we've been having a hard time, like, because other departments and ourselves have been looking for change managers, but they're difficult to come by. They're difficult people. It's difficult to get people with any experience. And so we we don't really it's a hard question to answer because when people move on, like sometimes the position doesn't necessarily get refilled. And so this is why we are trying to get our Lean Six and our project managers and other folks to do a little bit of change management off the side of their desk, because a little bit is better than nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is what we're trying to do with our community of practice. Funnily enough, our community of practice is made up of a lot of people who do not have change manager in their title, but they see the value of change. They're trying to figure out, okay, what can I do from my position? I can't take on, and my supervisor may not assign me or give me permission to work on a project as a change manager and apply what I know, but what can I do from my position? Can I ask, like, okay, I don't think my coworkers or myself, I don't think we really understand the vision of this. Can you repeat it? Can you tell us what that is? Why are we doing that project again? So, this would be little things that they can do, because we all have a role when it comes to change management.
Mhm.
And this is what we try to preach and practice, and yeah, and get everyone involved.
Next question. Great presentation. How large is your change team, folks available for coaching of those working on projects? How do you assess how well project team members are growing skills and leveraging change tools?
Great question. How big is their team? You're looking at her. I am it. I am the one and only here within project and advisory services. And how well, I mean, there's only so much that I can do, and we do a lot of projects. So one thing that we do with my coworkers when they're leading their various projects and using their various methodologies, we always ask them, okay, what change, or who is looking after the change? Like, so, and we do a lot of work with other line departments. So, because we're considered central government, so we would work with like social development and the Department of Health and uh, Department of Justice and Public Safety and such. So when they come to us and say, like, look, can you help us with this project? One of the questions that we ask when we're trying to understand the project is, who's looking after the change? And is there anybody, like, what can be done? So at least it gets them thinking. And I can't be on every project, but I can coach folks on what to do. How do we measure that? Well, we don't really, because it's hard when And actually, I should say, we don't, right at the moment, we don't have that quite figured out yet, how we're going to do that. But that is why we also try to offer more change management training and such, like in-house, because then when a department comes to us, we can say, oh, look at Sally and Jim both took change management training. Can one of them be assigned and help with? So then that way I guess we're tracking it in that sense, that we know, some of the projects that we are working on, that they're having someone at least looking after the change side of things, or doing as much as they can. They may not follow our whole framework of things, but maybe they're doing our 5 keys, and as I say, it's better than nothing.
Very good. And I feel you. Yes, I completely understand. I try to match up people that I've trained to projects, kind of just on an ad hoc, informal way. So I get that.
Yeah, because I mean, what's the point of us training and people taking training if they're not going,
Yep.
like if they're not going to use it and not apply it? So it's like, okay, let's get you doing this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So here's a comment from Robin. She said, I really appreciate you calling out that some of those people may have helped create the existing process. And I lost it. There we go. And to be sensitive to them. I have been trying to use the term current best practice to acknowledge that best practices change over time, and that's okay. So I thought that was a nice comment.
Yes, and it's so true.
Yes.
It is so true.
Yes. Doug has a question. Hi, Heather. Does your team use sizing approach for the lean projects, say t-shirts, small, medium, large? And maybe that is influenced by the change challenge involved.
No, we don't, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I played with that once, Doug, to size projects, and it didn't take off like I thought it would.
I'm saying
Yeah,
this.
I know, I'm thinking
idea. I'm not getting a lot of sizing happening.
Yeah, it didn't take off, but I don't know. I mean, I still like the idea.
I find that the t-shirt sizing is a little bit easier than doing like agile, like poker, and like doing like numbers assigned to it. Like it's an easy concept to introduce and get people used to.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
Helen?
I was just gonna, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, there I am. I was just gonna say, I've tried the t-shirt sizing with groups, any of the sizing with groups a lot, but it's really hard for people to estimate if they've never made it through a project before, or they don't know that they have done a project before. So like finding some analog in their previous life where it's like, what kind of a thing have you all as a team done before to change in your department? How big was that? How big does this feel in relation to that has helped? But like, that's where I think I landed on the source of the problem with t-shirt sizing is it's like asking somebody who's never looked at a t-shirt, what size looks good on you.
What size they wear. Yeah. It's like asking your husband what size they wear, Sorry, at least my husband. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Let's see. I would add that the Kubler-Ross model was originally for those who are dying, and the stages in no particular order, though many have adopted it. There are many grief support methods available that can be used for helping with big emotional changes. Use what works for you. I like that comment, Nancy. Thank you. And Evelyn, I don't know what your acronyms are. Are the GNBPAS team objectives linked to enterprise investment planning?
So GMB, government. Oh, I was going to say, I can answer that, I think, because
Okay.
I understand that.
Oh, I got it now.
Government of New Brunswick, Project and Advisory Services.
Got it now.
Yeah. So sorry, Michelle, can you read the rest of that question again?
Are they linked to enterprise investment planning? Are your objectives, like what you do, linked to the overall investment planning?
Yes, they are. Yes, because we do, especially for our training, we do a return on investment because we do a lot of in-house training now as opposed to when we used to do external training. So we do a lot of that, and even with our projects and such. So because we're central government, we tend to work on more government priority projects. And so again, we track as to how many priority projects we've worked on compared to non-priority projects. Has that fit in with the priorities of our own department, and that sort of stuff. So yes, we do track.
That's wonderful. Well, and I have to pause it there, you guys. We only have 4 more minutes left. So that's kind of my bell to say, okay, I need to wrap it up so everybody can get back to their next meeting. Let me share my screen real quick and let's all cross our fingers that it works. All right, oh, it worked. And my dog barked. Sorry about that. All right, and so before you go, if you could take a minute and make sure that you complete the survey. Corey's going to throw that, or somebody's going to throw that in the chat real quick. So get the survey done, definitely how you get to the PDUs. And yes, I would like to thank, I'm clicking on the screen. I would like to thank Heather immensely. That was fabulous. And I do want to really research your slides because there's some things in there I need to find some details on. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Heather. Everybody loved it.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited. And feel free to join our community, Heather, and start coming. This is worldwide. There's people from everyone. In fact, somebody earlier said they were from Vermont, so they were closer to you. So please join and feel free to come. And I'm sorry, my dog is going crazy. I don't know what's going on. So anyways, don't forget the PSCP website. If you need anything or you want to go look at the videos after today, please go there. We're also on LinkedIn. Please join our group on LinkedIn. We do a lot of discussions through LinkedIn. So we'd like to have you there. We'd like to have a lot of people involved in those discussions. And also our videos are posted on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. And that wraps it up until next time. One more big round of applause because I didn't get to use any of my buttons today for Heather. Heather, I'm like, just yay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And please stay safe in the tailwinds of that hurricane. So, and we can't wait. We hope you join us again next time and come to the Results Washington conference with us. It would be really nice to have you there too. And everyone else, please make sure as soon as you find out you can register for Results Washington, do that. I think that's going to be a nice benefit for all of our PSCP members to get a free conference in. So thank you. And welcome, Nellie. First week at state government. Welcome to the team. We're really happy to have you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Have a great day.